Hey, come see us in Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Irvine, California, and Ontario, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets. I'm here with Russell, and Russell went to this thing last weekend. This is why I have Russell on today, because Russell went to this thing called Dissonant Dialogues in partnership with Unheard. It's a festival of ideas. And if you Google it, it says Dissonant Dialogue, a place for dangerous ideas. Now, Russell, I want to show this video. This is of, they had some big shots there. Like Richard Dawkins was there, right? Now, tell me about that. I'm going to set this up for me. I'm going to show the video. Richard Dawkins was on a panel that you watched. And what was he saying on this panel? And what was the question you asked him?
Okay, so this panel was him debating Kirstie Alley, who she's a Muslim woman who speaks out very much against Muslim theocracies, and she had become an atheist, hence her connection to Richard Dawkins, and now she claims to be a Christian. So the subject of this debate was to be, he was asserting she's not really a Christian, she's a political Christian. And he now describes himself as a cultural Christian, which seems to just be another term for Western imperialist. But he was arguing she's not a theological Christian. So that's what the debate was about. It was pretty dry. It was pretty tedious. But anytime this entire weekend that the subject of student protesters came up, there was nothing but derision, contempt, condescension for them. And this was no exception. She was arguing that in the absence of religion, Islam was gaining a foothold amongst these students. And she was essentially arguing that they're being indoctrinated as Islamists, and that's why they're protesting, which is as batshit crazy as it sounds. And then it was thrown to Dawkins, and he rejected that theory. And so the moderator, I think, asked him what he thought was behind it. He said, well, I should think anti-Semitism is the reason.
So he said Richard Dawkins, Mr. Atheist, said the only reason that people are protesting against a genocide and against their government's complicity in that genocide happening in Gaza. The only reason those college students, not only in Ivy League schools like Columbia, but also in blue-collar colleges like UC Riverside, and so all across the country, from Texas,
all anti-Semitism.
He's saying it's all anti-Semitism, and so you confronted him, and here's the question you asked him.
A quick question.
Yeah.
All right, you said you felt that the students protesting were driven by anti-Semitism?
Yes.
Do you feel it's possible they're driven by horror at the slaughter in Gaza?
Do what, sorry?
Do you think they're driven by horror at the slaughter in Gaza? Is it
what's this now?
What?
Huh? What? Who's that with?
Well, because remember, this is what you really see here. This was such a mutual circle jerk dick sucking contest at this supposed festival of ideas.
Dangerous ideas.
He never expected to get a real question. That's why you can hear me I identified myself as press. I had a big press pass around my neck. I said who I was with. And I politely asked if I could ask him a question. You can hear part of that at the beginning.
I heard you say, you mind if I ask you a question?
And he agreed to it, but he didn't think he was going to get a question.
Right. He thought he was going to get more dick sucking.
Exactly. He was just coming from the VIP lounge that they were having as a special VIP event at the end of the festival.
So
caught him.
He was getting his ball licked and tongue bathed by all the people who paid extra money to go to the VIP lounge at this event, telling him how great and smart he is, and he thought you were going to be another one of those. And so I'll take it from the top. Let's watch.
Quick question.
Yeah.
All right, you said you felt that the students protesting were driven by anti-Semitism?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel it's possible they're driven by horror at the slaughter in Gaza?
Do what, sorry?
Do you think they're driven by horror at the slaughter in Gaza? Is it necessarily anti-Semitism?
Of course they're not driven by the horror in the slaughter. Oh, you mean...
Of the students protesting?
Well, Are you recording this? I'm not. Put that away. I don't do recordings.
Okay.
So he knew you were recording the whole time. It wasn't until you
did.
It wasn't until he realized, oh my God, I'm going to look like an asshole. You're recording. That's why I don't want to talk to you, because I don't do recordings.
But you can see him processing.
Yeah.
There's that moment. He realizes he got a real question.
Yes.
And he's thinking about answering it. And then he just freaks out. He just freaks out. He realizes there's no way to answer it where he doesn't get exposed as the fucking cretin he is. So he runs away like a rat.
And that is cretin activity. And here's why that's interesting. Because back in 2014, he tweeted this out. The extent of the extent of the destruction in Gaza is obscene. Poor people who have lost their homes, their relatives, everything. He tweeted that out in that's my birthday, July 26th, 2014. He tweeted that out. And now he's saying the only reason people have a problem with that is they're anti-Semites. So would he call himself an anti-Semite back in 2014? The answer is yes.
Yeah, that is. People sent that to me after the video dropped. That is really amazing. I know you're probably going to want to drop this clip back in East Berlin, so I don't know how deep you want to go. Some people claim they have compromat on him. A certain friend who used to have a jet who is no longer with us supposedly.
Oh, so you think he got caught up in the Epstein thing? You think so?
Some people, as our illustrious former president might say, some people are saying, some very smart people are saying that. That's what some people are saying, because Epstein cultivated all of these intellectuals and academics that he had shit on Dawkins, and that's why he flipped on Israel.
And we all know Epstein worked for the Mossad.
Right. It's possible. It's possible. Then again, to give you a less nefarious explanation, now having sat in this weekend of the so-called intellectual dark web, they're all like that. And it's mostly grifters. I think, they might believe half of what they say. Some of them might believe all of it, but they're definitely feeding a certain audience what they want to hear. So there could be some of that.
So you're saying that this dissonant dialogue, a place for dangerous ideas, actually wasn't a place for dangerous ideas. It was a place for groupthink and people afraid to actually go against the establishment narrative.
This festival could have been organized by Anthony Blinken. It had absolutely nothing to say about international geopolitics, foreign policy. That could not have come off a State Department press release, right down to having a display about the Uyghurs. Now, okay, you want to have a display about Uyghurs and the fact that China's using slave labor, or the assertion that China's using slave labor and there are food products we use that are a result of that. Okay, all right, fine. First of all, you're not in China. You can only speculate on that. But okay, fine. I'll concede you having that display. And they're talking about the western province of China. As I've reported on our show, we have a province here called Louisiana, where you literally have mostly black prisoners working on former plantations. And their labor gets into the supply chain of everything from Target to McDonald's to Cargill, all of these products. You almost can't avoid prison labor in our products. But it was all very oriented around this very State Department vision. Absolutely nothing critical to say about U.S. foreign policy. We're surrounded by enemies. The Chinese are barbarians. The Iranians are dangerous theocrats. We're the good guys. It was just, it was incredible to see something build dissident dialogues. Ukraine, Russia, just nothing but State Department on that, except for the one panel they did specifically about Gaza where they got Brianna Joy Gray on and somebody else I've never heard of. Originally, it was supposed to be Nathan Robinson. There was some kind of problem, so they brought in a ringer at the last minute.
The problem is that Nathan Robinson, he's got a gig. He's now hires himself out to go at parties to cower in a corner and and repeat and to union bust. So maybe he got called in to go union bust somewhere because Nathan Robinson's a big union buster. And
is he?
Oh yeah, big union. But he busted the union at his own magazine. You don't know? You didn't get? You missed that story?
No. Yeah. I didn't see that.
Yeah. He fired them all. As soon as they wanted to join a union, he fired them all.
Yeah, this in a lot of ways, it felt like one of our viewers put it this way, and it was very right. It was like a conference on ideas from 2018. They're all running around in a very dire pre-World War III, or some might say World War III has already started kind of a world, wanting to scream about how terrible it is that their university wanted them to use pronouns. Now, as anyone who's watched my show or even my stints on your show knows, I'm not a fan of that ideology. But if you're going to talk about that, about how your speech was suppressed at a university or as a professor, and at the same time, not only are you not going to support these student protesters, not only are you not going to be speaking out about a bill that just passed the House that would essentially criminalize criticism of Israel on college campuses, if you're not going to speak out about that, you know what? I'm sorry. I really don't give a shit about the fact that they drove you out of the university, because you're a hypocrite and you're proving every enemy of people who have been speaking out against quote unquote wokeness has said that you don't really care about civil liberties. You don't really care about free speech. You just care about your speech and your liberties. You really don't care about speech that you don't like, and you've proven them all right. And that makes it very hard for honest actors like me to argue that that's not what it's about, because that is what pretty much everyone at that festival was about.
Hey, come see us do a live show. We're going to be in Denver, Colorado, May 11th, Los Angeles, California, doing a live panel show with a celebrity panel and video, Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, with Max Blumenthal, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Irvine, California, Chicago, Illinois, with another celebrity panel, live video show in Chicago, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, jimmydore.com. for a link for tickets.